Thank you very much for the organization, the European Network of Migrant Women. I am really truly honored by your invitation to this event and to be able to show and affirm the European Women's Lobby's members' solidarity with Afghan women and girls. I am especially honored to witness the testimonies of Afghan women and girls here, and to be informed about your most immediate and more general concerns and your pleas to the international community. The European Women's Lobby, as the largest platform of women's organizations in Europe, represents 2,000 organizations in the EU, in candidate countries, and in the EEA area. Together, we work to build a feminist Europe where women will fully benefit from all their rights and be protected from discrimination and violence. When we heard about the recent developments in Afghanistan and the Taliban gaining ground after the withdrawal of the foreign forces, we were immediately fearful for what future that may bring for women and girls in Afghanistan. From the EWL's members, the European Network of Migrant Women, through its migrant women-based membership and leadership, has the most direct connection with women and girls in Afghanistan. But at the same time, other EWL member organizations are also closely connected with women there because of their membership in their global network or in their national organizations as well. The network of migrant women's urgent appeal in the wake of the worsening situation in Afghanistan was taken up and echoed and even amplified by members across the board at the EWL. The feeling of solidarity was expressed and urgent support for especially vulnerable women and girls were asked for by EWL's members. It was based on our common humanity, but beyond that, especially on our shared experience as women, that we felt an inevitable need to express our sympathy and support for the plight of women and girls there. Before the EU's ministers of foreign affairs met on the 17th of August, along with our members, the European Women's Lobby published a statement on the situation of women and girls in Afghanistan. We thought it was crucial to urgently draw the attention of the ministers and other decision makers to support women's rights in the region. We emphasized the need to protect women activists, women's rights defenders, women in the civil society, and all women researchers, decision makers in Afghanistan from immediate threat of violence. But also, we call the attention to a probable rollback of women's rights in the country. After years of hard work by Afghan women to access their fundamental rights for education, economic independence, and self-determination. We stressed that these rights are enshrined in the EU's core value of equality between women and men, and the EU therefore should seek to protect this in all its actions and policies, including in their foreign policy. In our appeal, amplified by our dedicated members and their actions, we urged EU and member states decision makers to help ensure safety and protection to women's rights defenders at risk of immediate retaliation by providing them with safe routes, simplified procedures, and access to asylum. But we also insisted that all deportations to Afghanistan should be stopped from Europe. We stressed the importance of sending a strong signal that no violation of women's rights will be tolerated, and of supporting women's rights organizations in the region, even after these actions. We asked for safeguards so that sanctions are taken in case of breach of women's rights and the under international humanitarian law. our message was clear that inaction was not an option. Members from all parts of Europe, as well as our network members with a wider international outreach, have addressed national and EU decision makers, and they all urge them to take actions. For example, closer to my region, the Slovenian Women's Lobby addressed its appeal to Mrs. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission. And they emphasized that in their view, the EU has a specific responsibility to the Afghan people, fighting for human rights, dignity, equality, and equity. Slovenia, just like Hungary, where I come from, has taken part in the NATO mission. And I think in the long run, the European Commission, because of the EU's membership in the NATO, has this kind of responsibility. They should work closely with foreign governments and international partners to protect these brave fighters, to protect all women and girls there. In their messages, our members were very clear, saying to decision makers that no one is safe until everybody is safe, and that it is time to move from words to deeds. It is hard to actually gather all the messages that our members have been conveying, but I would like to say that I am very grateful that this event has given us that are living outside of Afghanistan a chance to hear the autonomous and authentic voices of Afghan women. You have talked about very understandable fears of the threat of civil war, or of what could happen in the void of power, about the fear for the lives of people, especially women's and girls' lives, and your appeal to include Afghan women among our voices. These messages about the deeply distressing humanitarian and political situation have really, really touched me, and I would like to pass them on to decision makers as well as to our members. I would like to reassure you that the part of the international women's movement that is represented by the European Women's Lobby stands in solidarity with you, and we'll try to do our best to relay our messages to the wider international community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Reka. It was very interesting and informative, and thank you so much for your input into this event. Now I would like to ask Katharina Miller. She's the president of European Women Lawyers Association, and she has been involved in so many ways with Afghans and what's going on in Afghanistan. The floor is yours, Katharina.
Thank you. I was so excited to play with my camera that I'm now immense in the. Okay, now I'm better. So first of all, thank you so much for the invitation. I also became very emotional, especially, when I listened to all of you, dearest Afghan sisters. I haven't really slept in 6 days now, and because you have Frohar has just told you that we have been involved in trying to rescue some of you wonderful, amazing sisters. And I'm also here in a very humble position, I have to say. So especially my dear sister, Zuhra, thank you. We should have spoken earlier. It's very important to listen to you, and I will tell you now why. I'm also here with various hats. First of all, I'm here in my position as the president of the European Women Lawyers Association. We are a federation of all women rights associations around the European Union and EFTA. However, and of course, we are also wherever we are needed. And this time we felt we are needed for our sisters in Afghanistan. And I'm also an activist. So not only a lawyer, but also an activist. And I would like to speak to you from both perspectives. Apart from that, I'm also a mother. I'm a lawyer myself. And now I have become a rescuer, and I will tell you in a second. But first of all, please, accept again, thank you very much for letting me speak, because I know I have a the highest social rank ever. I'm German born. I've been born in peace. I have no idea what you're going through. So I'm really carefully listening, and I want to learn from you, because it's about you. So it's you should guide us and use us as your tools. And now I'm going to start. So what have we been doing for the last week? It all started a week ago. Well, we wanted to learn, we wanted to listen to you, understand what's going on. That's why we decided to have a webinar, to hold a webinar 1.5 weeks ago. And we had it, I won't mention her name. She's an important leader from Afghanistan, and I promised her not to say her name. And she told us, she guided us a little bit through what she thought are your needs. And that's how we we drafted our first press release. And we were urging, like our fantastic sisters from European Women's Lobby, we were urging our Western governments and not to be blinded by orchestrated media interviews on the actual character of future Taliban ruling in Afghanistan, as women know them better from their past. We also urged Western governments, under no conditions the international community shall recognize the Taliban regime as legitimate rulers. We were told to do that. Then we also urged that, in view of educated women risking their lives protesting the Taliban regime on the streets of Kabul, the education of girls and women and their right to work and to move freely without male escorting must be guaranteed also in the future. We also asked that the Taliban must keep the borders open for all those people who wish to leave the country. And if Taliban really want to prove their tamed approach towards women's rights and consider being the representatives of all the people of Afghanistan, as they proclaim, they shall organize fair and free elections to restore order with an elected parliament and government. And then we demanded from the international community, which we are part of, to ensure in further negotiations freedom of speech, freedom of media, right to education, access to technology, freedom to vote, and humanitarian aid for the Afghan people. Then later, when we realized that United States, our dear sisters from United States, and all the other European countries were about to leave Kabul airport, we got very nervous. And so we were asking, especially the EU governments, fulfill their obligations under the UN International Bill of Human Rights and towards the people of Afghanistan. And we asked them to remain in the country as long as the US troops are there evacuating asylum seekers. Yeah, that's past now. Then we asked EU government to provide safe passage from the start of the evacuation to the end destination for all, because EU governments are parties to the Refugee Convention 1951 and must fully carry out their obligations under it. However, I'm hearing you, my dear sister Zuhra, that maybe not the whole truth was told to people, to our Afghan sisters who wanted to leave Afghanistan. They're not, I think nobody prepared them, that it will be very difficult now that they are coming to our countries. And I assure you that everything is what is in my hand and in the hand of my association, and also I know of our sister associations that are here. We will do everything possible to welcome our sister from Afghanistan in our countries and to be there as sisters and as their families. Now I come to you as the activist. So with amazing ladies that are here in the room as well. The last nights and days, we have been trying to rescue people with lists. So my life exists of lists now of also wonderful, amazing, very important, especially women lawyers. I think you have all heard of 250 women judges. We have not been involved with the rescuing the women judges. I know that our sister association, the International Association of Women Judges, they are trying to evacuate them. And but we have come across lists, and so we have just been trying to rescue some amazing women activists, such as the Minister of Women's Affairs, the former Deputy Minister of Justice, the Attorney General of the state, women prosecutors, women judges, some of them family judges, many women's rights lawyers, and they are all leaving the country or want to leave it. It's very difficult to get them out. You will all have listened that Kabul is not a safe place anymore. When the attack occurred at the Abbey gate, we were like so much worried because this was our gate and the hotel was our hotel where our people were. So this is really it's a horrible situation. And once again, sisters from Afghanistan, here we are with our high social rank. Use us. If you want to leave the country, we are here. Use our hands. Tell us what you need. We are happy, not happy. We feel obliged to help you and tell us what you need. There is one platform that we created with the Berkeley Center on Comparative Equality and Anti-Harassment Law, with my association, European Women Lawyers Association, with W20, some wonderful ladies from W20 that are also here now in this wonderful event that we hold. And we have created, maybe Anne, who has been really a very leading part in this. It's called Women for Afghanistan. And this is such a vehicle that you can tell us, so people of a high social rank, such me and us, can reach out to us and offer their help. And we then try to match and find, after having understood the needs of our sisters from Afghanistan, match us with you. And this is what we have been trying. So stay strong. Peace is possible if we are together. We are together in this, but we have to keep strong. We have to use all our strengths, our strategic thinking, and use each other. We are a strong network and we are able to make this. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Katharina. I know that you haven't slept probably since Monday. You have been working so hard. We all are. We just want to reach women out there and we want to help them. And you're still going on. Thank you so much. From Afghan women's point of view, I'm grateful to you. And now I have another strong, amazing woman, Tatiana Kotlyarenko from OSCE, who has been working with us day and night without sleeping, without eating. And she has been amazing and she has moved us forward. So I am so happy to see you in person. We have been speaking on the phone and we made this strong relationship. So I gave the floor to you.
Thank you so much. And I'm really humbled to be here with you and to listen and to learn from my Afghan sisters. Sheryl Sandberg said that we must raise both the ceiling and the floor. In order to do so impactfully and effectively, feminist leaders and their allies, such as yourself, are playing a crucial role in paving the way and demonstrating to the last girl in the most remote location, in direst of circumstances, that she's not alone and that change is possible and coming. Your voice has to be heard by global decision makers and every woman and girl. Just like free and fair elections guarantee political stability, research tells us that gender equality is a key indicator of a state's peacefulness. Gender equality has to be prioritized by states across political lines, across religious lines, across any lines. We must recognize women's rights as human rights, and we must support women leaders, women human rights defenders, women activists in their efforts towards gender equality. Especially today, I'm proud to be a woman, because women all across the world have come together working around the clock to assist and protect women, men, and children at risk in Afghanistan. I want to recognize their sacrifices, tenacity, and relentless efforts. At the same time, human rights of women are not the sole responsibility of women. States have signed conventions, made political commitments, are working towards meeting SDGs such as Goal 5 to ensure human rights of women. These commitments, such as the Convention of the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, which has been ratified by 189 states, needs to be upheld now. Women's rights are under attack around the world, and if we stand by and let Afghani women's rights be sacrificed, this will become a continuation of a cycle of deprioritizing the human rights of women for other interests. Today, it is the rights of the women in Afghanistan. Tomorrow, it is the rights of women across the world, perhaps your mother, sister, daughter, or wife. How can we stand by and allow these human rights abuses and this humanitarian disaster to continue with women as the sacrificial lambs? Why are the lives of women and the rights of women so low on the priority list of governments in practice, perhaps not in rhetoric? Women vote, women pay taxes, and humanity could not continue and thrive without women. All of us here today need to ensure that our governments know that women will not stand by and allow human rights of women around the world to be disregarded and deprioritized. Although there are many attempts to disempower us, we need to recognize and own our own power. I have spoken to hundreds of women in Afghanistan, women politicians, judges, journalists, human rights activists, doctors, academics over the last days, some of whom were able to escape to safety. Many have also chosen to stay and to continue working and fighting in Afghanistan. Many still remain in Afghanistan in fear of their lives and that of their families. This cannot be ignored and forgotten. What about the every woman in Afghanistan and the generation of girls to come? Can the world just pretend not to see it? Can we ignore the fact that many of these women will end up in situations of exploitation and human trafficking, trying to flee to a life of safety and freedom? According to reports that I'm hearing on the ground, this is already happening now. The human rights of women are not a gift or a favor. They're guaranteed by international law. Women over centuries have fought for these rights. They cannot be the generation that allows for these rights to be taken from any woman or girl. I'm here to ask you, what will you do to ensure that Afghani women and girls have their rights today so that your daughters have them tomorrow? How will you use your voices, votes, and advocacy today? Can we tell Afghani women and girls that they have hope and that we are here to fight for them, not just the days that this is covered by the news and is the hot topic, but until their human rights are upheld and secured? In the meantime, we need to ensure that our governments adhere to the Geneva Convention, including persecution in the form of violence against women. So with that, I encourage all of you to stand up here with us in sisterhood and brotherhood and continue to work relentlessly until we reach all the goals that we need to reach to ensure that every woman and girl in Afghanistan, but also around the world, has their rights to live, to learn, to work, to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you, Tatiana. That was very moving and very good speech. Really, it moved me as well. And that's why I'm gonna read another one more dairy poem from the same writer, Khalida Frohar, and that's about if you گر تو آزادی را اگر تو آزادی را if you know the freedom اگر تو آزادی را ما بیچراغ بودیم در سالهای سراپا شب در شبهایی که ما آواره‌ترین صداست و حنجره آسمان زمانه من ویرانه سکوتی ما بیچراغ بودیم اما گام زنان در کوچه هایی که از هجر آزادی ترک برداشته بودند ما می جستیم که نسل نگاهان ما در جستجوی آن ستاره گذشت ما اساطیری شدیم آنچنان که دمیدن خورشید افسانه ای را مانند شد اگر تو آزادی را نگریستی از چشمهای ما یاد کن. So she's ending it with saying, if you find freedom, please see it from our eyes. Because we are without light and we are refugees in the darkness side. Please be our voice. And we are the women who are on the streets. Our feet are now painful and injured. And we are becoming history. So if you see the light and the sun, please remind them of us. And if you see the freedom, please see it from our eyes. I hope I translated right. I've just picked it up like a few minutes ago. And like I said, Afghan poetry has so many connotations. It has a meaning behind it. And it's not easy at all to translate as the poet is writing it with so much emotion, maybe at the time. Thank you so much. Now, I'm asking now Anna will come back and we will go to Q&A afterward, I think. Thank you, Anna. I give the floor to you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone who spoke. I got very emotional at some point. I was supposed to moderate this whole session and I asked Frohar to do it. I have been working with Frohar, well, as my colleague in the office from my home. But in the last several days, in the last couple of weeks, we've been working intensely and closely. And as Frohar said, we didn't sleep for several nights. But I want to say that Mahbouba is still with us. I hope she's still here. When I called Mahbouba to invite her to this event, and she picked up the phone, and she asked me, the first question that she asked me was, how are you? And I said, I'm in shock. I'm in distress. I feel horrible. I'm devastated by what's going on. And I asked her, how are you? And she said, I'm fine, thank you. For me, the last 2 weeks, the last week, it transformed my life from what I saw and what is happening in Afghanistan. And I'm not there, but I think that I wake up thinking about Kabul, I sleep thinking about Kabul. And you know, we don't have problems here in Europe. We take so many things for granted. I was traveling several days ago. I took out my passport, my European passport now. I'm from Russia originally. And I got on the plane and I went from one place to another and nobody tried to drag me off the plane. Nobody tried to check 1,000 times my documents. Nobody made mistakes because everything was written in English in those documents. And I saw women being thrown out in the ditches. I saw women being exploded. And I saw it from distance, and I do not know how those women live. I do not know. I do not know how, Mahbouba, you live, where these women get the strength. I do not know. I probably would have it if I would be in the same circumstances. We know in Europe that as migrant women, we cope with a lot of things because migrants and refugees, and I'm not a refugee, women, when they are migrants and especially refugees, they are subjected to a lot of discrimination that native or European women wouldn't necessarily face. However, we all face violence against women, no matter if we're migrant or not. And, you know, now, sorry, usually I prepare my speeches, but I'm quite emotional. And I want to appeal to everyone that I think that in a lot of feminist community, in a lot of NGO world in Europe, but not only in Europe, in the United States and other places, we have lost the moral compass. We have lost the direction where we're moving. Our life depends on making money from funds. We're writing applications. We're supposed to be civil rights activists. Where is our activism? I don't understand this. I don't see it. And it's just, on the one hand, it makes me feel ashamed. On the other hand, it makes me feel hopeful because what I saw, if women survive this, then for sure we can deal with the problems that we have here. And this is my contribution. And I want to say thank you to every speaker who I really appreciate, no matter if you're in Europe or in Pakistan. I know that the speakers that we invited, day and night, they worked on this issue that we're trying to raise, and they took time to come here and speak, and some of them couldn't, and there is a good reason why they couldn't be here with us. And I'm going to stop here, and I hope maybe Adriana can, or Frohar, if you can take the questions, then we can proceed with this. We have about 20 minutes for discuss.
Sure. Adriana, would you like to help me with this?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I also wanted to, before moving on to the Q&A, I wanted to thank our interpreters who are here today and translated the speeches into Russian, French, Spanish, and Dari. Thank you so much for all the hard work you have done for the past couple hours. Without you, we would have...
You're cutting, Adriana. We are losing you. Hello? Okay.
Can't hear Adriana,
Yes.
but I can add as well that all our interpreters, they're volunteers, and we're largely a voluntary-based organization. We don't have a lot of funds, and we also invite everyone. Those speakers who spoke today, they have organizations behind them. Please help those organizations, donate, go to their website. We've been posting links to their websites. Help these women. Finances now money. Well, women who are in Afghanistan can speak more about it, but we know that there is a financial crisis, and women actually, some of them have nothing to eat at this point.
Sure, Mahbouba, Seraj would like to say something. Please do. Please do. محبوبه جان میتونین گپ بزنین بفرمایین.
Thank you, everybody. I want to say just a few words. I listened to everybody and what everybody said. I mean, apart from the first two that I missed, I'm sorry about that. But I listened to everybody else. And Anna, thank you, dear, for your passion, for your understanding, for the way you talked. And I kind of know that you have felt exactly where we are. You really have. And what I really want, and I hope that this will happen from now on, is this kind of understanding from the women of the world, from my sisters all around the world. One of my dreams in my life was always have been to have a sisterhood of the world, to stand next to each other and raise each other's voices or for each other when they cannot. That has been such a dream of mine, such a dream. Because I also know the power of women. I know how powerful we are, dear God, we really are. If we put our minds into something, we can really make it happen. That's the whole idea. That's what we should do now. And I want all of you, please, to promise me that for the next 6 months to a year, but of course you have to break it into sections, you know, every 2 months, 3 months, whatever. Be aware of this country. Just look at us, find out what is going on. If I'm around, I will let you know to exactly what is going on here. Because if we don't know exactly how the people are treated here, such a horrible things can start happening. And then what are we going to do? That will be too late. So please, lovelies, watch for us, watch for the girls, watch for the women, watch for the men, watch for the people of this country. We are very hurt. I am so hurt. I am so hurt. And I've been hurt for the past 2 weeks. There are times when I cannot control myself, and there are times when I can. At the same time, there are times when I kind of take it out on my girls, and they're all here around me, and I love them so much. But they know, I guess, that their mother is just, you know, not going crazy, but it's hard. So please, please don't forget us. Just watch it and see. I think we are going to make this work. I really think so. I'm a forever optimist in this world. So let's be together. We'll make it happen. Be our voices. Thank you so much, all of you. You have done such an amazing work. In the past 2 weeks, I got to know the women of the world. I really did. You're amazing, absolutely amazing. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much, Mahbouba. You're although as an Afghan woman, listening to women inside Afghanistan, having families there, I've been crying almost every night, every day. And my 6-year-old daughter was telling me the other night, Mama, buy me a phone so I can help you, so I can start helping Afghan women. She's only 6, and because I've been constantly on the phone and crying, they really are crying with me, not knowing what's happening. But thank you so much. Now we take questions. Questions are very welcome. Adriana, would you please like to help me with this?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes.
Okay. Apologies, sisters, for before. My internet connection is a bit bad. To be honest, there are many questions, and I'm pretty sure I'm not going to be able to take them all. But there's a specific question for Zuhra. I don't know if she is still here. Yes, she is still here. It's a question from Mathilde, and she works with this organization called With Afghan Women. And she states that it's pretty hard to get in touch with women who are directly on the ground in Afghanistan. So if you have any suggestion on how to do that, thank you.
Should I answer for it?
Yes, go ahead, please.
I think everybody is right now in crisis mood. So if you're not hearing much, then I would suggest that you wait, see if you can find good intermediaries women who have links with women in Afghanistan, I'm happy to support that. I'm sure Mahbouba would be able to support as well. And after a while, make sure that you are keeping the avenues for communication open. But after a while, once everybody has settled down, then I'm sure that the connections would be made. I personally am in touch with a lot of women. Some of them are traveling. Remember that this is not sort of a regular flight. It is days and days of making phone calls, filling in application forms, like many of you have supported in this process. And then it's a long journey. And at the end of this journey, I mean, I was not in touch with some of my friends that went away, and they didn't have chargers for their phones, and they really wanted to know what was going on and be in touch, but they couldn't. They have to be quarantined, and sometimes they have to quarantine several times because they get taken to 2-3 intermediary places until they get to where they have to be. So keep that in mind. And then others are in Afghanistan, and they're keeping low. They are doing what you've all mentioned that you're doing, which is to facilitate people's departures and so on. So even if they are in Afghanistan, they are doing that. Remember that Afghan women are right now the health sector, they're the education sector, and they're all the social services in Afghanistan, because as things have collapsed, they're taking care of it. A lot of them are actually in complex private situations. You know, they're women who are who lived alone, and then they need to find a safe space. And a lot of them are suffering from an immediate financial issue. I mean, a lot of us had jobs, and many people went in sort of in the immediate aftermath of the Taliban to their offices, and their offices had closed down. So be wary of all that. Try and keep in touch with those of us who can keep in touch. Come to these kind of events and so on, and gradually things would start to take shape. Back in the 90s, Afghan women's movement did exist, despite there not being internet and so on. So right now, organizations like ours are trying to make sure that these networks are not lost. We are making sure that these networks are linked with humanitarian aid. These networks are linked with international regional networks and beyond. So try and use us who can act as intermediary. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Zuhra. That was great. Adriana, the next question.
Yeah, on that note, we have a question of in the sense of, should European women be acquiring certain other language skills than the usually, you know, neo-colonial English and French in order to be speaking with these women? What can we do communication-wise to establish that connection, as you were saying? This goes for Zuhra, but for any other woman who is able to speak.
Okay, I think it will be very hard to build language skills, but this is where you can utilize good links with the diaspora community. So please do that, but do not let the diaspora community's translation skills to stop women who are coming into the European countries from acquiring language skills. Try and provide that. I have been in many conversation classes that were set up by host communities and new women. Make sure that you set up things like that. The key is to find a safe space and also a common language. Now, the common language does not mean that you would have to learn a new language, but it is creating a safe space, enabling them to also learn your language. And that is going to be brilliant, because outside of them getting, joining into the community as a woman, they can also live their life outside as well. It's not going to also reduce the pressure on children who also act as interpreters sometimes. So my advice is to create safe spaces, allow a lot of interaction with women, allow women to be the first point of contact. Do not do not support situations where men and children are having to talk on behalf of women. Once women are put in these safe spaces with some interpreters, with the opportunity to learn the host community's language, in places where they can share as well. They don't, in spaces where they don't have to be subordinates, where they could talk about their country, where they can share what they know, be it sort of their culture or their arts and so on. So those kind of spaces work the most, works the best. And that's where common languages are created as well, I think.
Thank you, Zuhra. We have another general questions more about finances, because obviously there's a lot of will from this side on how to finance directly on the ground. But sometimes people don't really know where to start or who to choose because they don't trust their sources. So any tips or any leads on how to finance Afghan feminists on the ground or not with organizations as well? This goes to Zuhra, but also to any other speaker, please. You are also welcome to join in the conversation.
Depends on what point of view, what kind of position you come from. I think people who want to donate, I suggest that you donate directly to women. Now that's right now a little bit tough, but there are creative ways around it. For example, right now what I'm doing is I'm asking people to send phone credit. And I'm sure Mahbouba and her network could be able to provide that. So I use a website to put money in my friends and wider circles phones. That way they get connected to the internet. So that's one thing you can do as an individual. As an individual, you can also donate small amounts of money to credible organizations. And I just put as an answer to one of the questions that the two organizations that I personally donate to, one of them is Emergency, which is a network of hospitals. It's an Italian NGO run network of hospitals in Afghanistan. And any terrorist attack, anything that happens, they provide world-class medical facilities. So I really like donating to them. Afghan Aid is another charity that I donate to quite often. And I trust that the good work that they do reaches really sort of districts and provinces all over Afghanistan, and I really believe in the way they work and the way they include Afghan people. Bigger organizations as well, like WHO and so on. Now, if you work, if you're asking these questions from a organizational perspective, talk to your counterparts in Afghanistan, because soon we anticipate changes in the way the financial systems are working. We are thinking around creative ideas of using the local money transfer systems. And of course, you have to take care of all the legalities and so on. We have to work with our neighboring countries around cash transfers and so on, where possible, where there are steps to safeguard the money and also legal safeguards in place. But if you work around policy, see if you can work to get money going into Afghanistan to be not, there's not a sanction. So Taliban are not sanctioned. However, by the US government and some other entities, money that goes into Afghanistan, if parts of it is being spent in a way that it could reach Taliban, that those projects cannot be funded. So basically, if the money, for example, comes into, let's say, a humanitarian project, and part of that money is used to pay taxes to the Taliban government, or let's say to buy refreshments in a government and civil society meeting and the Taliban are there, then that is classed as financing the terrorists. Now that creates a lot of problems for us, for those of us who work on the ground, especially if the Taliban just announced their education minister, for example, higher education minister. So if we want to engage with them, then we have to be careful in how this money is spent. So you have to see what step can you take in lobbying so that youth work, peace building, humanitarian work could be exempt from something like this, especially when paying taxes. And then this will open up our hands. And there's a lot of America-based organizations that are doing this. So please collaborate with them, because obviously the more pressure is put, the more likely it is going to get better. So these are some of my suggestions. Another thing that I'm doing personally, and I do not want to expand that, so please do not reach out to me about this particular point, but I'm done with this, which is that I have left some cash in Afghanistan. I have access to some cash, and I'm getting people to donate money to me, and then my friends, a small group of men and women, are taking this money and buying essentials for IDPs. Now, I cannot do this anymore because I'm running out of cash in Kabul to do the thing. But please reach out to some of your colleagues, not necessarily right sort of now, maybe sort of in a week or so, or if you know that they're safe, see if they have money there that you could use creatively. And please have some trust. We are all in it together. So let's maintain that level of trust, and let's make sure that we could, in these informal systems, we can support each other.
Thank you, Zuhra. I was wondering if Mahbouba or even Meena, you had any addition to this, given that you work mostly with girls and in the violence against women and girls sector. So maybe you have other interesting tips for us.
I do have something I want to add, if it's okay with everybody. I'm a bit on the pessimistic side when it comes to money, because I've seen the way money has been spent in Afghanistan, and the places that they've gotten the money, and how it has been. It really didn't go where it was supposed to. So I'm a bit fearful of that. At the same time, when everybody has been asking me lately about, how can we send the money, for my organization and everything, I've told them that, wait, because there are no banks, and I can't accept money. If there's no bank, how am I going to accept the money? And I cannot have access to it. But I want them to remember that when the banks open, then I would love to, for them to be able to help us. Also, I want to tell you one thing else, that a lot of these organizations on the ground right now that they have been working on the humanitarian help and everything, they're going to change. Some of them are not going to be any longer here, and there's going to be some, most probably, new ones coming up. I don't know. That is the time when we have to be very careful on really vetting to see who they are run by, how the money is being used, and how it is going to be done. But one other thing I want to say, and I hope that nobody really chops my head off because of saying this. For the 20 years of living in Afghanistan, with the amount of corruption that I saw in my life, and what was done in this country, I have a funny feeling that these people are not going to start with that kind of corruption. I really don't think so. So as far as that's concerned, we might be in a better place right now. We might be. But at the same time, just let's keep our eyes open, because don't forget some other things going to start also. A lot of our other countries, maybe some of our neighbors, who knows? Maybe some very opportunistic people, who knows? They are going to take advantage of this situation. And they're going to take advantage of this situation, and they are going to discredit some of the organizations that are really working very hard and very right for all of the needs of the Afghan people. So let's be careful about that too. A little bit of searching and a little bit of digging and a bit of asking, where they are and what's happening is not a bad idea when you give your money. So this is all I wanted to say. Caution is really good at this point, especially now that we really are, as the saying goes in Afghanistan, we are like a pot with no cover. So that means everything and anything can fall inside this pot, and some of them might not really be very good. So for that matter, just watch it, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. I realize there's a lot of questions in the Q&A, but we are running out of time. I think all the women that spoke here today give us precious tips on how to assist from outside of Afghanistan. But out of respect for the women that have been here as speakers for 2 hours, I'm going to close the Q&A chat. And we would be happy to provide some links that we've gathered directly from the Afghan women themselves. Before I close the event, I would like to know if any of the speakers would like to give any last words to the audience, and also keeping in mind that we're going to be sharing the recording of this event with representatives of the European Union institutions, but also global ones, to heads of states, to members of parliament and other institutions around the globe. So if you have any last word to say, the floor is yours. I see that some of you have opened the camera. So maybe Katharina, I would like to say something. If not, let me know and I will give you the floor. Thank you so much.
Just thank you. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Yes. Gita, okay.
Hello. I'd just like to say that defending refugee rights, as some people have mentioned, is immensely important, but also those of us who are outside in the region as well as in the West. It's not just the West, it's Pakistan. Of course, has taken millions of refugees in the past and will probably take some now. India is being very difficult at the moment, which has traditionally been a good friend to Afghanistan. And so there's a duty on people in India to try and make the government open up a bit more. And abroad, in Western countries, there are attacks on refugee rights all the time. I mean, I know that from Britain. A lot of the mess that's happened is because people who wanted to come abroad for ages ago and had the right to refugee status weren't given it before this last push to get people out. So I think this is really important, and as much as we can work together on that, particularly because the gender difference that women face as refugees is not properly recognized. So I really take on board what was said by Zuhra about getting women safe spaces, not depending on the community to be the interlocutors with women, like male community leaders, finding places where women can be with each other and talk safely and get help safely, get what they need. And I think that's going to be really important going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I would like to thank each speaker individually: Gita, Zuhra, Katharina, Tatiana, Reka, Mahbouba, Meena, Anna, all of you. Thank you so much for your input, and thank you all other women who attended and men who attended this session and listened to us. Thank you so much. And I really hope that we, like Mahbouba just said, we work together and we stand with each other and we stand with and for Afghan women. Thank you.